This woman, recognized as trafigata, was among the principal leaders of a criminal organization when she was tragically and brutally shot. Surprisingly, she was not the sole trafficker to be eliminated due to her feared leadership, similar to Kaylane Cristina, who became the target of a series of violent disputes. In October of 2020, the city of Marituba, in Brazil, was profoundly marked by a case that deeply shocked the local community. The remains of Kaylane Cristina, a 14-year-old adolescent, were discovered in a dense thicket in an area close to the neighborhood where she resided. Kaylane, recognized among criminal factions and also feared by the local law enforcement authorities, was a prominent and well-known figure in the realm of illicit substance trafficking and rival group confrontations. The young woman, who swiftly became a widely recognized name due to her involvement with illegal drug trafficking, became the focal point of a series of violent confrontations. Her presence was not only observed in Marituba, but also in the capital city of Belém, where clashes related to territorial dominance frequently took place. Kaylane, however, was not merely a piece in the intricate puzzle of organized crime. She was, in fact, one of the most feared and highly respected leaders among her peers. The law enforcement authorities, in turn, were fully aware of her deep involvement in unlawful activities, but encountered significant challenges in acting effectively due to the complex nature of the faction's operations and the intense violence associated with them. The situation in Marituba, characterized by the presence of criminal factions competing for dominance over trafficking locations, became significantly more tense when Kaylane was abducted. Her end, which followed, was the result of an execution involving a rival faction. The dispute between these groups, which had been dragging on for years, reached a critical point with the elimination of the young woman, who until that moment had proven unbeatable in the face of emerging threats. In the year 2020, the name Kaylane Cristina, known among those involved in drug trafficking in the state of Rondônia, Brazil, became intricately associated with a narrative of power, fears, and internal disputes among the criminal factions. With a discreet appearance and nicknamed the Blonde of Trafficking, Cristina was a strategic figure in the operations of the faction she was involved with, demonstrating remarkable skillfulness and audacity to operate within a territory dominated by violence and the control of illicit substances. Kaylane Cristina had transformed into a significant reference point, not only among the members of her own faction, but also for her adversaries, being feared even by the law enforcement authorities. Her authoritative control over specific territories and her exceptional ability to transport substantial quantities of illicit substances rendered her presence indispensable to the faction with which she was associated. In a world where hierarchy and loyalty are fundamental, she quickly gained respect within the drug trafficking scene in Porto Velho, the capital of Rondônia. However, Kaylana's story took a tragic turn when she decided to switch factions. This change of loyalty was not well received, and in a world where switching factions is seen as betrayal, her decision sparked a wave of violence that culminated in Kaylana's execution. The opposing faction, which typically does not pardon those who desert, swiftly responded and, as an unmistakable message, eradicated the young woman, violently concluding her participation in the drug trafficking scene. In Sinaloa, Mexico, a woman drew the attention of authorities, rivals, and the international press. Claudia Ochoa Felix, known on social media as the Kardashian of crime, was associated with the Sinaloa cartel, and more specifically, with the armed group known as Los Antrax, the operational arm of the faction. Despite her denials of any direct involvement with a criminal organization, her opulent lifestyle, emotional connections with prominent figures in the drug trade, and her frequent presence on social media platforms fueled ongoing suspicion and attracted significant attention from various sectors of society. Born in the year 1987, Claudia was raised in a typical family environment and successfully graduated with a degree in nursing. She entered into marriage at a young age and became a mother to 3 children. Her name started to gain attention in the media when photographs emerged depicting her in the company of high-caliber weaponry and symbols associated with the drug trade, including customized jewelry and extravagant vehicles. The connection with one of the leaders of the Antrax contributed to the increase in public attention, transforming her image into something between popular fascination and police investigation. For numerous years, various speculations suggested that she might have assumed the leadership role of the group following the neutralization of one of the primary leaders. However, in the absence of official confirmation, this information was never validated by the relevant authorities. Claudia firmly rejected any label associated with criminal activities and asserted that she maintained a routine primarily dedicated to raising her children. Nevertheless, the content she shared on social media platforms fueled an alternative narrative, where weapons and luxury coexisted alongside motherhood and ostentation. In the year 2019, Claudia's journey reached an unforeseen conclusion. She was discovered without life in a dwelling in Culiacan, following an evening spent at a nightclub. The official report indicated intoxication as the cause, with no signs of external violence. Her end, however, sparked a new wave of suspicion. Some versions suggested that the cause might have been different and that her relationship with the cartel might have directly influenced the outcome. In Igarapé-Miri, Brazil, the name Adriana Miranda became synonymous with a brutal execution that shocked the local population. The young woman, 21 years old, was known for her connections to the illegal substance trade in the region. Her end, recorded in a video that circulated widely on social media, was a direct condemnation by a crime tribunal, a type of judgment carried out by criminal factions. The sequence of events commenced on a Saturday when Adriana was last observed in a video recording where she appeared to be joyfully dancing with a companion. The image initially seemed innocuous, but it would not be long before Adriana's destiny took a profoundly tragic turn. A few hours after that recording, she disappeared. Her father, desperate, began to share on social media the lack of news about his daughter, without imagining what was to come. On the subsequent Tuesday, a newly surfaced video commenced its circulation, this time depicting Adriana captured in a moment of profound despair. She admitted to her involvement in unlawful activities, referencing a high-caliber firearm and elaborating on her association with notorious traffickers. This particular video indicated that she was being judged by her own faction, accused of significant failures in her actions within the trafficking operations. Shortly thereafter, another video emerged, this time showing Adriana cornered, visibly frightened, against a wall. She was encircled by the individuals accountable for her impending execution. The film concludes with a deadly gunshot. The scene, captured with chilling detachment, unveiled the intense and brutal violence that criminal factions are capable of exerting, a harsh reality that appears to have no foreseeable conclusion. The tragic conclusion of Adriana Miranda's life contributed to the growing list of young individuals who have fallen victim to the so-called crime tribunal. Videos similar to hers have become progressively more prevalent on various social media platforms, disseminating scenes of violence that appear more akin to those found in horror films rather than in real life. As the investigations persist, the intricate details surrounding Adriana's execution remain somewhat unclear. Her father, visibly shaken, publicly requested his daughter's remains, seeking at least a dignified burial for her. Maria Guadalupe Esquivel, known as La Catrina, emerged as a central figure within the Jalisco Nueva Generación cartel, one of the most influential criminal organizations in Mexico. Raised in Tepalcatepec, Maria became intricately involved with the cartel following her departure from her home and the commencement of a relationship with one of its prominent members. Inspired by glamorized narratives of the criminal lifestyle, she was swiftly drawn into this perilous world. Her notoriety grew when she began sharing her luxurious lifestyle on social media, where she displayed weapons and flaunted her involvement with the cartel. Under the mentorship of a boss, Maria quickly rose through the ranks, taking on responsibilities in trafficking operations and attacks against rival groups. The Jalisco New Generation cartel, led by Nemesio Oseguera Cervantes, known as El Mencho, has established itself as one of the most violent factions in Mexico. Between the years 2013 and 2015, the organization significantly expanded its control, capitalizing on the power vacuum that was left by the capture of El Chapo. The cartel's violence was a defining characteristic of its strategy for territorial dominance, and La Catrina played a crucial role in its operations. Her direct participation in orchestrating ambushes against security forces culminated in a deadly attack in El Aguaje, where she spearheaded a confrontation against law enforcement officers. This particular episode captured the attention of the authorities and led to an intensified manhunt for her apprehension. In January 2020, Maria was successfully located by the Mexican security forces. During the attempt to arrest her, a shootout ensued, resulting in fatal injuries for La Catrina. Images captured following the confrontation depicted her final attempt at resistance before ultimately succumbing to her injuries. Her demise at the tender age of 21 signified the conclusion of a relatively short-lived criminal career. In Manaus, Brazil, a figure known for challenging the conventions of the underworld emerged with strength. Fernanda Caroline Chavez, nicknamed the Barbie of trafficking, used her striking appearance and discreet language to operate in one of the most monitored markets in Brazil. At the age of 25, she initiated her activities associated with drug trafficking, transporting narcotics across international borders, particularly from the region of Paraguay to the state of Amazonas. The primary tactic employed was camouflage. Bolstered by her seemingly innocuous public image, she was apprehended in 2016 with 40 kilograms of narcotics. The arrest culminated in a 5-year incarceration. However, during the period of serving her sentence, Fernanda successfully managed to escape, relocating to the southern region of the country. She established herself in Porto Alegre, where she cultivated personal relationships that significantly assisted in concealing her true identity for an extended period. Throughout this time, she cohabitated with an international traveler until her identity was once more discovered, leading to her capture as she attempted to make her way back to Manaus. Following her apprehension, she was relocated to a facility situated in Mato Grosso do Sul. The diligent efforts of her legal representatives enabled the rest of the sentence to be served in freedom. Shortly thereafter, Fernanda made her way back to the capital city of Amazonas, where she maintained a discreet lifestyle while simultaneously working as an escort. The movement was conclusively interrupted when she received a telephone call while she was at a nighttime establishment. Upon exiting the location, she was unexpectedly confronted by an armed individual who discharged multiple gunshots at her. The execution took place in a context of growing tension between rival groups competing for sales points in the city. Fernanda's movement between strategic regions and her previous relationship with criminal organizations drew the attention of structures that controlled the local market. Amid the whirlwind of violence and territorial disputes in Michoacán, Mexico, emerges the figure of Lucy Cruz, known in the world of drug trafficking as La Cholita. She stood out for her connections with the Carteles Unidos, as well as the bold and provocative way she confronted the Jalisco cartel in Eva Generación, one of the most powerful and feared groups in the country. Her prominent presence on various social media platforms and her relentless messages challenging the Jalisco cartel made her an immediate target. La Cholita, with her audacious and fearless stance, utilized digital platforms to assert herself as a steadfast ally of Los Viagras, a faction deeply involved in territorial disputes with the Jalisco cartel for control over the region of Michoacán. These particular actions transformed her into a significant and prominent figure within the local drug trafficking scene, but also a powerful symbol of defiance for the opposing cartel. The violence in Michoacán, which was already heightened by the ongoing struggle between various factions, further intensified with the escalating rivalry. The Jalisco cartel, which was determined to broaden its dominance over the region, could not allow La Cholita's bold affront to remain unanswered. The intense rivalry between the two cartels evolved into a relentless cycle of revenge and provocation, where each challenging act inevitably led to a brutal and violent response. Eventually, La Cholita's execution was orchestrated by the Jalisco cartel. She was captured and brutally killed in a violent spectacle reflecting the conflict's harshness. Camila Marodin, 25 years old, known as Trafigata, lived in Pinhais in Brazil, married to Ricardo Marodin, identified by authorities as one of the main leaders of a criminal organization specializing in drug trafficking in the region. Camila saw her life change when, during the birthday party of one of her children, Ricardo was attacked, receiving 12 fatal shots. Following the demise of her spouse, Camila found herself apprehended under suspicion of participating in unlawful endeavors, including the trafficking of illicit goods and the laundering of money. Investigations revealed that she was accountable for the financial administration of the organization, utilizing a clothing store as a facade to legitimize the financial transactions generated by the illicit activities. During the course of the investigations, a total of 13 luxurious properties and 5 high-value vehicles associated with the couple were discovered, including a Porsche, which was subsequently confiscated by the authorities. After spending a duration of 40 days in detention, Camila successfully obtained the right to serve her sentence under house arrest, utilizing an electronic ankle monitor with the justification of being the mother of 3 young children. However, in February 2022, she became the target of a violent attack in the Alto Boqueirão neighborhood located in Curitiba. While she was returning from a local supermarket, accompanied by a friend, the vehicle they were traveling in was struck by more than 20 gunshots. Camilla managed to flee on foot to her house and surprisingly emerged unharmed from the attack. Jocelyn Alejandra Niño, widely recognized as La Flaca, was an integral member of the Gulf Cartel, a notorious criminal organization headquartered in Tamaulipas, Mexico. Serving in the capacity of a gunwoman, she was actively engaged in direct confrontations against Los Metros, a competing faction within the organization itself. Her affiliation with the organization became publicly known in January 2015, when a photograph of her holding a firearm and wearing a bulletproof vest was anonymously circulated on social media platforms. The disclosure of her association took place amidst a time of heightened territorial conflict between Los Ciclones, the faction she belonged to, and Los Metros. Investigations indicate that the revelation of her identity might have been a strategic maneuver employed by adversaries to undermine her faction. Ángel Eduardo Prado Rodriguez, the leader of Los Ciclones, was actively conducting operations in regions dominated by rival factions, which heightened the risk of violent confrontations. In April of the year 2015, La Flaca, along with two of her allies, were apprehended by members of the faction known as Los Metros. On the 13th day of that month, Mexican authorities discovered what was left of her inside a cooler situated in a supermarket parking lot located in Matamoros. The identification of La Flaca was confirmed through a tattoo on her forearm which contained her surname. At the location where the crime occurred, a note was found left by those responsible for the execution, containing direct threats to Los Ciclones. The communication, endorsed by an individual affiliated with Los Metros and identified by the number 65, condemned the participation of women as fighters and cautioned about forthcoming assaults in the area. Sabrina Duran Montero, widely recognized for her influential social media presence and as a prominent cartel leader in Santiago, Chile, was tragically eliminated at the young age of 24. She was one of the most notable figures in the illicit substance trafficking scene within the Chilean capital, maintaining an impressive base of over 450,000 dedicated followers on TikTok. Sabrina documented her life and her connections in the world of crime, gaining notoriety both as an influencer and as a trafficker. Her latest videos were dedicated to her girlfriend, Antonella Marchant, the leader of one of the country's most well-known cartels. The Chilean police are investigating the crime as a possible premeditated attack, as Sabrina was intercepted while walking down a street and was subsequently shot. The prevailing hypothesis is that the crime was driven by a rivalry within the drug trafficking world. Following the attack, the young woman's vehicle was discovered incinerated, further adding to the complexity of the case. Sabrina was still transported to the hospital while alive, but unfortunately, she did not survive her severe injuries. Sabrina's funeral, which was scheduled to occur in Peñaflor, was deemed high risk because of the heightened tension between criminal factions, prompting the authorities to implement intensive security measures. In a story marked by violence and internal disputes among criminal factions, Karina Becerra, a 26-year-old woman, found herself involved in a fatal conflict. Her journey began in August 2022 when she was approached by a drug dealer from the Primero Comando de Capital (PCC) in a bar in Itaim Paulista in the east zone of São Paulo, Brazil. When Karina declined the man's attempt to kiss her, an unforeseen reaction ensued. Her rejection initiated a sequence of events that ultimately resulted in her being condemned by members of the faction, in accordance with the informal regulations of the crime tribunal. Following the incident that transpired at the bar, Karina found herself forcibly abducted and transported against her will to a concealed location, where she was held captive. During the period she remained in the custody of the criminals, she successfully managed to escape and was subsequently rescued by the military police. After being liberated, Karina provided a comprehensive report of the events to the civil police, meticulously detailing the sequence of occurrences that placed her in a perilous situation. Fearing for her safety, she sought refuge in Taboão de Serra, a municipality situated in Greater São Paulo, in an earnest attempt to reconstruct her life away from the violence. However, despite her efforts to hide, Karina's whereabouts were discovered by members of the criminal faction. The PCC, with its vast power and reach, located the woman and decided to punish her betrayal for refusing the trafficker, resulting in a fatal attack. Karina was located in the Paraisópolis slum, in the southern zone of São Paulo, where her story met a tragic end. The violence of the faction was relentless, and Karina became a victim of a brutal attack. Although her remains have not been found, the police confirmed that she did not survive the confrontation. Don't forget to subscribe to watch more videos like this.